signs by all occupants. Conditions, whether turbulent waters or calm conditions exist. The rescue section is well equipped for floodboat work. The floodboat carries a small team, first aid kit and a stretcher. First aid is carried out before transport. The State Emergency Service assists volunteer bushfire brigades when called upon. The rescue section needs the assistance of the communications section to function properly.
Stand over.
Did you copy that message from Newcastle-7, over?
Negative.
They have the patient and everything's in hand, over.
They still require the ambulance.
The ambulance has the patient, sorry, over.
Roger out.
Training is held regularly every Wednesday night. The members are lectured on various rescue techniques. Also, we have training with casualty handling and stretchers. A vital point of training is to get experience in first aid. Abseiling is a form of advanced training. The team occasionally has a full weekend of training with mock disasters and rescues. This is to keep their skills and techniques up to date. A lot of the rescue from heights has to be carried out away in the bush. The ladder slide is an extremely sound method of getting a casualty up or down from the first or second floor of a building. The casualty is blanketed and lashed to the stretcher. The pole is placed through the D-shaped legs of the stretcher to act as a roll when the stretcher is slid down the ladder. Two guidelines are attached to the head of the stretcher. The angle of the ladder is changed. One man comes in and foots the ladder. The second man goes under as a human prop. The third man ascends the ladder to take the bottom of the stretcher. The two men at the top of the ladder support the weight of the stretcher at all times with the guidelines. Man number 3 on the ladder supports the stretcher on the way down on his knees. When the stretcher gets to the bottom, the two men at the bottom move in to take control of the stretcher. This scene shows a search and rescue. As soon as a casualty is discovered, a 60-second touch-up is carried out to diagnose any injuries, such as fractures, cuts and abrasions, bruising, spinal damage, etc. All rescue personnel are trained in first aid. purpose of strapping or lashing the casualty into a stretcher is to combine the patient and the stretcher into a solid, manageable unit, capable of being carried over hazardous terrain. The casualty has no free movement, therefore preventing any further injuries. Somebody is at the head of the stretcher to comfort the casualty at all times, even if he is unconscious, as unconscious patients can still hear. The stretcher is called a Stokes litter and is made of aluminium. The Stokes litter is a very lightweight piece of equipment and has preferred use in inaccessible situations. This lowering technique is called a two-point vertical suspension. There are 2 team members at the top and 2 at the bottom of the cliff. This is the simplest method of getting a stretcher down from a height. When the casualty reaches the bottom of the cliff, 2 members come in and take control of the Stokes litter. The casualty is then transported to safety. On one training day we made improvised rafts. The rafts were constructed of plastic bags or sheets with a light wooden framework. The Newcastle State Emergency Service is just one of many rescue services available to assist the public.
Fort Scratchley on Nobby's Road, Newcastle, known as the Outer Fort, was taken over by the Royal Australian Engineers prior to 1947. In 1947, an ambulance station was built on the site. Over the next decade, ownership and purpose changed, and eventually the Department of Works and Housing took possession of some of the facilities. With the establishment of the New South Wales State Emergency Service in 1955 after the Maitland floods, the facility was passed on to the Newcastle SES as its main headquarters. The SES was the last occupant on the site up until it transferred to the Donald McKinnon Geddes building at Elizabeth Street, Tyers Hill in 1990. The area of land on Nobby's Road is now cleared and used for event parking. The area used for the floodboat demonstration and cliff rescue was the Walls End Brickworks near Jesmond. The brickworks was shut down in 1977. The area is now a public park under environmental protection. This video is one of the few records remaining for the Newcastle SES unit's first home. The original vehicles were 2 Bedford vans, previously used as Baker's delivery vans.